I brought my 1968 Lotus turbine engine powered Indy car, formerly driven by Joe Leonard.
Let's take a look at your car, which people can't get enough of. I mean, it's just a beautiful wedge. Tell me about the design of that.
Well, this was designed and built for the 1968 Indy 500. It's unique in that it's turbine engine powered. The rules allowed turbine engines.
This thing at the time was running in first place in that race the whole time, and it was the pole car, if I'm correct.
That's correct, yes.
Said, you know what, I think an Indy car is what I need. So,
I have a business dealing in turbine engines, so it was a dual.
so it was a write-off. I gotcha. Wasn't the other car, when I think of turbines, you had the Shelby turbine car, but that I think didn't even actually run.
That's correct. It practiced, but it didn't race. Yeah.
I mean, it actually looks very simplistic when you think of it, right?
But anyway, this thing is elegant and simple in a good way. Elegance, perfection in design, fewer moving parts is reliability.
Here's obviously where well, what do you run in this? Do you run a special kind of fuel for a turbine?
We just use everyday kerosene. Back in the day, they actually used unleaded gasoline.
Is that right?
They had the American Oil as a sponsor.
So how does that, the gas goes in here? What are these ports on the side?
This is where they refuel that, and they would open these to vent the air out of it.
Got it, okay. Push it in, pull the air out. Got it. And it looks great. Features some of the stickers on the car.
Indianapolis, Indiana, home to the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the famed Indy 500, often called the greatest spectacle in racing. The Indy 500 is unrivaled in the world of U.S. motorsports for its long history, tradition, and innovation. Perhaps nowhere was this more evident than in the 1968 Indy 500 and the ultimate showdown between standard piston-powered race cars and the relatively new turbine jet engine race cars. Motorsports icon Andy Granatelli and build 4 race cars powered by state-of-the-art turbine jet engines. One of the turbines that ran in the 68 Indy was Lotus car number 70, driven by racing legend Graham Hill, who proved the car's incredible speed by being the first to break the one-lap qualifying record.
Hill turns 4 blistering laps at an average of 171.208 miles an hour, a new track record.
As Granatelli had set out to prove, turbine jet engines produced tremendous torque and power. Utilizing around 80% fewer parts than a piston car, the turbines ran very smoothly. In fact, the deafening roar and rumble of a conventional piston-powered race car was replaced by the strong and steady build of a jet engine whir. Small parts malfunctions took the turbines out of the race at the 68 Indy 500, but their ferocity and power on the track had put the piston cars on notice.
The first turn, it's turbine.
However, power restrictions by the USAC, the governing body of the racing industry, ultimately made it impossible for turbines to compete in future 500s.
The engine size was slashed to a puny 11.9 inches of air intake, a 50% cut.
But their impact was undeniable. The turbine cars remain among the most popular, technically advanced, and highly controversial race cars ever created. Owned for years by NASCAR legend Richard Petty, the number 70 Lotus 56-3 turbine was purchased by Austin, Texas businessman Milton Verrett, who ordered a ground-up restoration of this historic race car. The number 70 1968 Lotus 56-3 Indy turbine race car was never altered or converted to a piston-powered vehicle. Its only race was the historic 1968 Indy 500. The amazing restoration of this rare, iconic car is a powerful tribute to the innovative turbine engine program that had been created nearly 50 years earlier.
There on the line is Andy Petrie in the Lotus Pratt & Whitney Special, the STP Special, which again comes from our Americana part of the entry. Looked set for victory in 1968 in the Indianapolis 500, and then bad luck took all three cars out of the running.
Just let's go back, as you say, to 1968, turbine power, four-wheel drive. Just, you know, that's 50 years ago. You know, the Quattro.
As they round the fourth turn, heading towards the straightaway, it looks as though the field is all set. And we're going to get a start. Pace car off. Here they come. And look at Lloyd Ruby bust through from his second row position. But Joe Leonard has busted out into the lead. The start is just as everybody has expected. The turbine car has taken the lead immediately. It's Joe Leonard out in front. Bobby Unser is in second place. The other two turbines will try to... There could be other reasons for that aside from lack of speed. Graham is a somewhat conservative driver. Perhaps he wants to see what happens for a while. And of course, Pollard hasn't had very many laps in this car. He's kind of practicing, maybe. Yes, I would feel he would take it easy for a few laps to get the feel of the automobile. There's a good look at the leader on this first lap, Joe Leonard. The rest of the field trailing out behind him, as though he may have some trouble. Mario into the pits, almost like it was last year. The fellow who won the pole here 2 years in a row. However, he is in obvious trouble. You have any idea what that smoke might be? Well, it's difficult to say. Looks as though he might have burned a piston, Jim. Okay, well, back up in front. Joe Leonard is the story of San Jose, California. Former motorcycle driver driving this fabulous head-shaped turbine machine today. And he has a rather substantial lead right at the moment. Bobby Unser is second. Car smoking. That's Jochen Rindt this time. And here is Mario into the pits, this time stopped. Jochen Rindt smoking worse than ever. He's going to have to come in, it looks like. Yes, I would say his problems are rather serious, too. So we're going to use that time to go back now to just the other day when our cameras were mounted on the race car being driven by rookie Jim Malloy while he drove this track. As he leaves the pit area into turn one, he must stay down on the apron, out of the way of the faster-moving automobiles. He picks his speed up across the short straightaway and moves out into the groove as he enters turn two. Down this back straightaway, he'll attain a speed of almost 215 miles an hour. He moves up, attempts to pass an automobile. However, he doesn't get quite all the way in, so he must back off, going through turn three, across the short straightaway, and then, of course, into turn four. As he leaves turn four, you'll see him make another attempt to pass an automobile. That's one of Jack Brabham's cars. He moves down to the inside of the racetrack. In short, Roger, there's frighteningly little margin for error on this race course. Well, there certainly is no margin for error. Actually, even a tiny slip can spell disaster here. The important thing, Jim, is that for the first time in history, the groove actually is being changed by the turbines.
I don't know why they say turbine instead of turbine.
However, the leader is Bobby Unser in a more conventional turbocharged Offenhauser. And there is Joe Leonard going after Ruby. And now you can see the versatility of that turbine. He's able to run way below the groove and able to pass Lloyd Ruby as they went through turn four. Okay, so now it's Bobby Unser in first place in car number 3, but Joe Leonard in car number 60 has moved back into second position. So the battle resumes between these two cars that really have been fighting for the lead most of the day. And look how close they are now. Leonard closing in. It might be that the track is getting a little bit oily out there, and this may be working to the advantage of Joe Leonard. However, on the straightaway, as you can see, Bobby Unser is able to pull away just a little ways from the turbine. Well, there's been some comment here in the pits that maybe the turbines were holding back a little bit.
Certainly is doing a great job. But here is Graham Hill in the pits for his second scheduled pit stop.
There are 3 required pit stops. You have to make 3 whether you need them or not in the Indianapolis 500 this year. There are 3 required pit stops. You have to make 3 whether you need them or not in the Indianapolis 500 this year. Whether you need them or not, this year. As Graham Hill goes back into the thick of it.
And a record speed of 158 miles an hour to this point.
We're back in Indianapolis, where almost 300,000 people are watching one of the most exciting Indianapolis 500s of all time. This has been a battle right from the start. The 3 principal cars, Bobby Unser, Joe Leonard. A big battle on the lead, however, among the 3 cars, as we said. Unser in car number 3, Leonard in car number 60, and Ruby in car number 25. They've been switching back and forth on the lead when one would get a faster pit stop than the other.
Of course, the pressure is really on these pitmen. Stop could be very important. Very important.
Let's see what this sign is. 3 cars have 1 full lap on the field, and it might rain. Now, what's the significance of that?
Well, I think he's telling Joe to get the lead if he can. Bobby Unser in the pits very soon now.
Pit stops have been really fast, anywhere from... It's Graham Hill out of control. Up against the wall, a wheel bouncing down the track. And no fire.
He's getting out. Looks as though he might be all right.
It's Graham Hill out of control. Up against the wall, a wheel bouncing down the track. And no fire.
He's getting out. Looks as though he might be all right.
He's walking in that same familiar, sedate Graham Hill fashion. And look at this. He even cleans up the track and takes off the wheel that might have caused trouble to another driver. But Graham Hill is out of the race. The yellow flag is out again at Indianapolis.
And here comes Bobby Unser, a real break for him.
Everybody except you said nobody can stay with the turbine cars.
So
what you expected to happen?
We don't have any horsepower. Every car here can beat us at the end of the straightaway. We just don't have any horsepower. In the race, we cannot run in competition because we have to slow down for traffic.
Is the heat slowing up?
The heat and no horsepower. We only got 480 horsepower. It's all that we have, and the rest of them got between 600 and 700.
You're gonna win?
We're gonna try.
Is that a car without a horsepower? That Joe Leonard is certainly doing very well.
And Granatelli waving Leonard by. Look how slowly Unser's coming out now.
He's in trouble of some kind, Jim, and of course Joe Leonard just went by him. The problem was only temporary.
Here's Graham Hill back in the pits, and he gave us the word as he came through Gasoline Alley that his right front wheel seemed to be out of balance right from the start of the race. The car also seemed to be down on power all along. Then he said something broke, he hit the brakes hard, spun, and he said he was very lucky to hit the wall at the angle he did. There's Mario Andretti. Lots of fine drivers out of this race already.
Mario with a very dejected look on his face there. You can tell his disappointment.
Out on the track, the yellow flag is still out, remember? And with Graham Hill out of the race, it is now assured that the winner this year will be a brand new winner. No past champion is left in the competition.
7 or 8 or 10 laps it'll be left is very difficult to know at this time.
There's the green flag. It's out. The race is underway again. There goes the turbine.
And Joe Leonard is slowing down for some reason.
The turbine is stopping. This is absolutely unbelievable. A year ago, we saw almost exactly the same thing when Parnelli Jones, driving the very first turbine to appear in this race, stopped with, well, less laps than this to go. But it's the same thing all over again. Leonard has just stopped. Do you have any idea what could have happened, Roger?
I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. If he didn't run out of fuel, I just can't possibly imagine what could have happened. Perhaps another transmission failure.
The crowd loves what's happened. They're all for the old-fashioned piston engines against the newfangled turbine. Chris Economaki is down in the Granatelli pits with Parnelli Jones.
Parnelli, what do they think it is?
Well, they don't really know for sure, and of course the fellas haven't come back. They went down after the car and after Joe Leonard.
Could it be fuel?
Well, there's some question there, but I really don't think so. They fueled the car. I seen the fuel overflow out the top when they pitted the last time myself.
You're the one guy that knows how he feels, aren't you?
Well, I certainly do.
And here's an ironic sight, a crushed Joe Leonard walking past Victory Lane, where he would have been in a very few minutes had the car not broken down. A quick glance to what might have been. Back to Chris again.
Andy, 2 years running, what do you think is wrong out there with the car? Could it be fuel? No. Could it be fuel? Could it be fuel?
Fuel car overflow at the top.
Could it be fuel?
No. I'll be right back.
Andy Granatelli, understandably disappointed.
And he didn't have too much to say, and as Chris said, that's understandable. There's the car being pushed into the infield, just absolutely at a dead stop. Leonard saying something to Andy. Heading back towards the pits. Chris Economaki still standing by.
Joe, what a tough break for you. Joe Leonard here, being commiserated with. Joe, do you know what happened to the car?
No, I don't know. Just like as if somebody turned the key off, Chris.
Tough break, Joe, tough break. The car?
No, I don't know. Just like as if somebody turned the key off, Chris.
Tough break, Joe.
Roger, can you believe this? Look at this. The other turbine has stopped. Art Pollard.
Well, this is the most unbelievable thing I ever have seen. Actually, we thought that these turbines were invincible. We believed that none of them would experience any problems of any kind, and now they're all out.
Graham Hill went out in a crash, but the other two have just plain stopped in the closing laps of this automobile race. The 1968 Indianapolis 500, one that will be remembered for a long, long time.
This is certainly one of the most unbelievable things I have ever seen.
This was 68.
But Colin Chapman was always the great innovator, and if he thought there was an edge to be found, he would try something, wouldn't he? He'd already had, of course, four-wheel drive in Formula One with the Ferguson, but this, again, was something different. And, OK, it wasn't the most successful car, but here it is, and it's still running, and it is another reminder of how the innovators have shaped motorsport, not just racing, but rallying as well over the years. And Andy Petrie with this Lotus with the Pratt & Whitney engine heading up the hill.
Thank you to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for bringing the car over. They've got an enormous museum there in Indiana, and if you have yet to go to Indianapolis, even on a quiet Wednesday in February, go. It must have been to get this Lotus Pratt & Whitney special up to the top of the hill.
To witness firsthand the ultimate showdown between standard piston-powered race cars and the relatively new turbine jet engine race cars. Motorsports icon Andy Granatelli partnered with England's Lotus car founder Colin Chapman in 4 race cars powered by state-of-the-art turbine jet engines.
8 miles an hour, a new track record.
As Granatelli had set out to prove, turbine jet engines produced tremendous torque and power. Utilizing around 80% fewer parts than a piston car, the turbines ran very smoothly. The turbine cars remain among the most popular, technically advanced,
This is absolutely unbelievable. A year ago, we saw almost exactly the same thing when Parnelli Jones, driving the very first turbine, to appear.
Imagine what could have happened. Perhaps another transmission failure.
And the crowd loves what's happened. They're all for the old-fashioned piston engines against the newfangled turbine.
among the most popular.
And the crowd loves what's happened. They're all for the old-fashioned piston engines against the newfangled turbine.
Technically advanced and highly controversial race cars ever created.
Have you ever tasted a rainbow and savor? You will.